Enots Engineering, I'm Alan. In today's video, finish off making the radius attachments for the tool and cutter grinder. This is the base which we made last time, and today we're finishing off the tool holder and the clamp. So let's go into the workshop, see how we do it. What I want to do is just solder this 3/8 square that has an M5 thread in it into this angle. Now before I do that, first I want to clean it. This is some degreaser, just make sure there's no grease on the part. Wipe off any excess. That will evaporate. Next I want to get some of the flux. I'm silver soldering, so this flux is for silver solder. It's a powder. I've mixed it with a little bit of water. I'm just going to put a bit on the areas where I want the solder to stick. A little bit of flux on that. Fit this into the part. Make sure it fits okay before I apply the heat and the solder. Now the silver solder comes, this one's a rod, so what I will do is just cut a little bit off, place a bit at the bottom, and a small amount on the top. Heat this up. It's just running down the back. Now I'll get the bit down the front here. It's melting. Let that cool down. That's cooled down a little. And you can see the solder's going to run the top, down the edge. This is a table pillar, just a block of steel faced off each end and a 6mm hole drilled through. And that piece fits between the table and the base. I'm making item 5, which is the feed nut. This is 1" mild steel and I need to turn it down to 3/4. I've just changed my tool to try and improve the finish. It's about 10 there to come off. Three, 5, 4, 5. Now that might fit. There we go. And that's okay. I've put the part back in the chuck and I'm just facing it off to length. I'm now making these 3 thumb screws, and because they're all similar, I'll just show the first one on the left. $4.84, that'll be okay. Just put a slight lead for the die. Okay, I've fitted my die in the die holder. Bring it forward. It's cut in. If you want to stop it cutting, just let the lever go. Just wipe the swarf off there, don't want to trap it. Start it up again. Go up to the face, let it go. Put it into reverse, pull the lever back. Okay, I'm just fitting my knurling tool. I've just moved the knurling tool over in 1/4 of an inch. Make sure that it's not going to hit the chuck. And I've also polished the outside of the bar just to take any bits that I don't want crushed into the knurl. The next job is to brush the knurl rollers. I've got bits of brassing on this one, so clear the bits out of it. And the bottom one. Tighten this down. That's tightening the knurl rollers onto the bar. Stop, and I'll unwind it. Unscrew the knurl again. Take it off. Maybe a little more. Just brush the knurling wheels. Place it back on the knurl. Start it off again. Tighten it back down slowly. So the knurling wheels can engage in the grooves that have already been made. Let that run till it forms. Okay, stop it. Take the pressure off. It's a nice knurl. Leave that as it is. And the final job is to part that off. I've put a 5mm nut on the thread, and tighten this up against the chuck jaw so it's held. I just want to face this off and chamfer the edge. That item's finished. I'm just making the final part, which is the clamp arm. I've marked it out, scribed the lines, and I've just set that line to the top jaw by using a parallel strip. I'll mill down to that line, turn it round and do the other side. I've turned it round and now I'm machining the other end. This is the piece we've just made, which is the tool clamp. These are the 3 thumb screws we just made. This one's got a little Tommy bar in. So now this part fits into here, and then that clamps onto the table. On this part, the Tommy bar and the screw is tight, leaving the gap that we made to grip onto the table. It's just a loose fit, and I could tell you the first time I fitted it, it just locked up. I couldn't get it to work. And that was because the thickness of this table was 3 thou thicker than the thickness of the slot. So this slot is important to get that right. And what I would do is probably make the slot a bit deeper than need be, 3 thou deeper, so it's loose. Then you only have to machine some off the face of this, which is easier than trying to machine some off the thickness of the table. Tommy bar's tightened up, so you can move that round the table quite easy. The tool fits in here, goes up to the stop, and then that'll fit onto there. Now you're limited on this design to the length of the tool. I would say the longest tool you can put on this is 2.5 inch. Now some of mine are 3.5. You can overcome that just by making this piece of angle on the back longer, moving all this down a bit and the clamp down a bit to accommodate a longer tool. That's just a point. If you're going to use a longer tool, you may as well make it to accept that when you start. So I've set the table up. The table is at 3° tilt. The top here is 0, in other words it's 90 degrees to the wheel. I've clamped the fixture on, set the wheel to the centre line. Bring the whole table forward so it's nearly touching, then use your fine adjustment on the slide just to bring it in so the wheel just touches the face there. I'll move that to the centre. So I know now this wheel is on the edge of this table and this is the centre line of the table. Then you need to pull the table back depending on what radius you want to make. So if you wanted to put a 3mm radius, you'd move the table back 3mm. To get the radius, use the screw on the end here and pull this back. As you pull it back, the radius gets bigger that you're going to grind. So I'll just do 1 revolution on this. Clamp this up so the carriage now won't move in, and any adjustments made by adjusting the tool here. Using the screw on the end, push the tool forward till it touches the wheel. That's ready for grinding. I'm holding the tool, pushing it in and holding it down. This screw on the end, turn that and it pushes the tool forward to grind more off. Picture, you can see the radius there, it's slightly to one side, and that's because the original ground sides of the tool were not central. That's the radius table completed. I hope you enjoyed it, hope that was useful, and we'll see you next time on Enots Engineering.